Hey Sanjit, welcome to today's session. Today would be our first session with respect to BW. As
Yes,
part of this session, we'll see entire overview about BW and what is the need of BW, why SAP come up with something called BW, so that you will have complete end-to-end knowledge for your even interview purpose or even as an whole. Like somebody who wanted to learn a new technology from outside, right? As a BW consultant, you'll see as in somebody from the outsider will get to understand what are the different things which will be there in our the BW as a BW consultant, what people has to do or will do on day-to-day basis, okay? Or what is the
okay.
roles and responsibility? We'll understand that.
Yes,
So, now coming about me, you already know I have close to 12 plus years of domain experience in SAP, and I started my career as an ABAPer, then moved to BW, BW on HANA, native HANA, HANA related SQL. Currently working on a project which involve both like BW, BW on HANA, BW ABAP, everything. Okay.
yes.
So this would be the agenda. Should be fine. That is for the corporate training which I had. So you are basically currently working as what? Which domain you are working on, Sanjit?
Like in SAP only, sir.
Which area you are
In
working on?
SAP BW, like still I'm the client is like Coca-Cola. They told, sir. So
But
I think
fine.
it's
But
going to be.
prior the attending the training, what is your current
Oh,
technology you are working on?
oh, okay. I was working in like in testing, sir. Software testing. I
Okay,
was
software
working
testing. No
actually.
worries. But
Yes.
you may not have much idea on the ERP and all, correct?
Yeah. Yes,
Or
sir.
you might have some idea also, maybe during your bachelor's
Some.
and all. What is
Yes,
your
sir.
education background, Sanjit?
In computer science engineering only,
Okay,
sir.
should be fine. In that case, you might
Yeah.
have had something like ERP also.
Yes.
Ultimately, you as a computer science graduate, you know,
Yes, sir.
there will be coding involved in any technology. At the same time, there is something called ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. Why the enterprise resource planning is so important? Take an example of Coca-Cola or Nestle or any project for that matter, or any big company for that matter. They need some software which will help them to perform and run their internal company itself. It is not about selling product to others. To run their internal operation only, they need one software system which is tightly integrated, correct?
Okay.
For example, you are being joined a company, there your account needs to be created or employee master data has to be created in the system, and you have to be assigned with specific salary, and there will be a timesheet which you are supposed to follow. You have to fill the same sheet on a daily basis. At the end of the
Yes,
month,
sir.
there has to be a payroll should run and you should get your salary, right? And you should get promotion, your old record and new record. The previously you are working as a system engineer, now you might be senior systems engineer, followed by you might be a
Yes.
team lead, correct? All those history has
Yes,
to be
sir.
tracked. That is one HR operation. For example, you as a employee of the company, as a company owner or a company management, I should get you the laptop, I should get you
Okay.
the handle device, I should get you the dongle, correct? I have to
Yes.
purchase this from outside world to my company, correct?
Yeah.
So that is purchasing module. So similarly,
Okay.
material
Okay.
management
Okay.
module. Okay. And
Okay.
there is something
Okay.
called manufacturing. You are into manufacturing. For example, take an example of Coca-Cola or Nestle. They are
Okay.
manufacturing their own product. But it is not about selling to somebody. First to manufacture they themselves, they need some raw product. They have to procure from
Yeah.
somebody, from different
Yes.
vendor from India, from all over the world. Correct?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
procured and they have to do the billing for them. They have to maintain the vendor's master data. There should be some software which will hold all the vendor information, whether the vendor is top one vendor, top two vendor, or top three vendor, or whether his vendor is maintaining his quality. They wanted to track all those information. For that
Okay.
again, they cannot. They should have a system or software designed to handle that data. Inventory. Assume that you are doing the manufacturing of a Maggie product with Nestle. So they need
Okay.
some raw data as a atta or even the rice flour or anything of that sort, right?
Yeah.
Some spices.
Yes.
So they need to see how much inventory is there, what is the demand, how much they are going to produce. If the inventory is
Okay.
less, they have to intimate the vendor, correct? Like their
Okay.
CRM, like customer relationship management. Assume that the same system or you need one separate system to start selling to the end user, to your customers, correct? The
Okay.
final
Yeah.
product. So
Yeah.
all these are just an example, okay?
Yeah.
All these things, if at all you have to handle this in a separate system, it is very painful task, correct?
Yeah.
First thing
Yes,
is
sir.
investment is a painful task,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
integrating one system with the other system is another painful task, and
Yes,
your
sir.
lot of time and money and your resource effort will go in that only, correct?
Yeah.
That's
True.
the reason what SAP as a company comes. The ERP stands for this enterprise resource planning, are those
Okay.
software which will help you to run your internal affairs or internal company independently,
Okay.
or even the other outside world also. The interface to the outside customers also can be done. Main thing
Okay.
is, by purchasing only single ERP software, you can do more than 90% of the day-to-day task of your internal company affairs. That's
Okay.
the main advantages of ERP.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
and just a sec.
Yes, sir.
So what we were discussing, ERP is that
Yes,
software
sir.
which will give the
About the
complete
ERP system, internal
information,
affairs of
internal
the
affairs of the
internal
company,
of
or
the.
to run any big company.
Yeah.
ERP can do that.
Yes,
So
sir.
among that, there are different ERP system provided by different companies. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
SAP is one of the major or leading company in the world whose software is used by more than 70 to 80% out of 100 people. Okay, 100 big
Okay.
companies, more than
Okay.
90 or 70 to 80, they are using SAP. Okay,
Okay. Okay,
SAP
sir.
ERP, which is called SAP ERP system or SAP ECC systems. Okay, and
Okay.
like that, even Oracle has their own ERP software called Oracle Apps. Like that, there are other different vendors. Even Microsoft
Oh.
Dynamics were there. It was not so famous, but there is something called Salesforce. When I started my
Yeah.
career, it is cloud-based customer relationship management. It is one of
Yeah.
the leading thing. It started 10 or
Yeah.
12 years back, but now it is the number one CRM cloud-based solution in the world. Everybody
Yes.
is using Salesforce for their CRM, but mostly
Okay.
for all other case they will use SAP. There are client, they may use both SAP and Salesforce
Okay.
also. Salesforce predominantly it will be used for customer relationship management. Okay.
So then you mean like for like most probably like for this manufacturing domain, this operational domain, for those kind of domains and all, they'll be using SAP, and for only particularly only for CRM, which is
Customer
like
relationship,
HR.
just to give the
Yeah,
leads, just to
HR.
get a lead,
Yeah,
just to sell something. That is
yeah.
the leading software. It is not that you cannot
Okay,
do what SAP. SAP will give the functionality, but
okay,
interface, and because of its popularity, people go for that. If at all they don't have to spend their money on other module, if they their interest is
okay,
only on customer relationship management, they may just go with Salesforce.
okay,
Or as the
okay, sir.
company expands, if they want to
Okay,
handle most other operation along with the customer relationship management like employee management, vendor management, material management, then they will go with SAP for sure. And they can have
okay,
both in
okay,
place also. It is not necessary
okay,
that if you have SAP, you don't need to have anything like that. No, it depends on your need.
okay.
Okay.
Is it like costly to purchase for like I say
SAP
like
license is
sales?
very no.
Yeah.
Salesforce and
Because
SAP.
it's an Salesforce is open domain, open source only now, right, sir?
No, it's not open source.
Okay.
It's open
Okay.
source for a developer, but for the corporate use, you
Okay.
have to pay and get a
Okay.
license.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
Whereas SAP is very costly and it is very stable product, and you have tight
Yeah.
integration. See, yeah, Salesforce is just one of the module of SAP. You can think like that, but SAP can integrate all the module. You can do purchasing using the same SAP system. You can track your manufacturing. You can provide raw
Okay.
material. You
Okay.
can
Okay.
set the
Okay. Okay.
MRP. You can handle the inventory. You can handle customer relationship management and sale. You can create a e-commerce website on top of your SAP. You can have service tracking. For example, if you are into like Tata, so they you wanted to also track your the service operations happening all over the country,
Yeah.
project management,
Okay.
human resource management. You can do the reporting, and you can
Okay.
run the finance. You can generate profit and loss statement. You can plan your GSTs, taxation, everything. Okay.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Everything can be handled. It is not only the specific thing like module, PP module. There are n number of model. Even
Yeah.
SAP can be used even in insurance domain. Okay. Every single domain they have
Okay.
a specific module. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So you name
Okay.
anything in the world, it can be handled because they as a product, we are just as an end user, we are thinking this much. As an SAP, as a product based company, they have a dedicated team who are doing the research and development, correct? They know what is
Okay.
the new area in the world market, and they just wanted to put that module inside it so that they can charge more money, they will get more money. It is not that they are going to give for free, correct?
Okay. I guess. Correct.
So it's all about the software life cycle. You give the stable project, they will get the very stable solution. They give the very stable solution to the customer, and they don't need to spend too much money on integration. In a single system, everything is there. So you are paying for that service. That's it. And it is adding more value to the company. So that is about SAP ERP. In case of SAP, we call it as SAP ECC system. Okay.
Okay. SAP ECC system instead of like this ERP system, you mean, sir?
SAP ERP is an ECC system. SAP ECC is an ERP system only.
Okay, okay,
Enterprise resource
okay.
planning. These are just a different. What is ERP system? I told. Even if you take Oracle
Yes, sir.
ERP also, which might be called with the name Oracle apps, even that also will have some module in it. It may not be having as vast module as SAP, but
Okay.
in general, what is ERP? You will have multiple module in the same system. But in case of SAP, the ERP is called SAP ECC.
ECC.
Okay,
Okay,
or
sir.
it can be also
Okay.
called as SAP S4 HANA recently, if at all your backend
Yes,
database is
for
running on
HANA.
HANA database.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Sir, but what I saw in Google was like this S4 HANA, they use for finance domain only, they use that. I heard. Is
not
that true, sir?
necessarily. If at all,
Okay.
SAP ECC was the very old system which was there. It is an ERP system,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah,
It was
yeah,
supporting other databases like DB2,
yeah,
Oracle, MySQL, and all.
yeah.
Now
Mm.
SAP come up with their own proprietary database which is having hardware and software innovation
Yeah.
altogether.
Mm.
So if
Mm.
you are not at all having any SAP system and
Mm.
you are purchasing new EC system now, you will get
Mm.
S4 HANA system, which is nothing but
Okay.
your ECC system by default come with HANA database.
Okay.
So
Fine.
there are some customers who are still using ECC system on running on non-HANA database also. There are some who
Okay.
have already migrated from old database to new database.
Okay.
Okay,
Fine, sir.
just give me a second.
Yeah, sure, sir.
So we were discussing on different ERPs and one of the SAP. There are different ERP providers like SAP. There are Oracle. There are Sage. There are Unit 4. There is Microsoft. Their own ERP solution called Dynamics 365. Okay, like that there are many, but most famous is SAP because SAP has most of the module in it. Okay, and let us start with introduction to BW. What exactly is a BW system? Before that, we need to know what is the use of EC system, correct? ECC
Yes.
come at the later point of time. There is something called OLTP system and OLAP system, okay? What is
Okay, sir.
OLAP system and what is OLTP system? OL
Online
transactional
transaction
processing system, right? And
processing. Yeah.
OLAP is
Online
online
analytical
analytical processing
processing.
system,
Yes.
right? You might have gone through some blogs and all, it's always good.
Yes.
So, any idea what is OLTP and what is OLAP?
This is mainly OLTP is mainly used for like this transactional values, I think,
Okay.
sir. Like maybe like the measures, I think.
Okay.
Online analytical processing is like the modules that cannot be changed, I think. I'm not sure.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, sir.
So online analytical processing system, OLTP is nothing but expansion is online analytical processing system. Example SAP ECC. Okay, focus mainly to commit data or create new entries in the system. Take an example of Amazon website. Amazon
Okay,
is
sir.
live all over the world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If Amazon using their backend system as SAP ECC, whatever the new orders which you created or any new customer comes and create their user or when they sign up, there will be a new account got generated, correct? When the
Okay,
new
yes,
accounts
sir.
get generated, obviously that has to go and sit in their backend system. In our case, what is the system? SAP system. Okay,
Okay,
SAP ECC
okay,
system.
okay,
So billions of orders are being placed. All those order information has to be stored as a purchase order in backend, correct?
okay,
Which is in our case SAP system, which is ECC system, right?
okay.
So billions of users are logging into the SAP's website, and all those billions of people, what they are doing, they wanted uh, to they are using the report on a day-to-day basis. And every single moment there are multiple or billions or trillions of users logged in, or billions of millions of order is being placed, processed, shipped. Many things are happening, correct? So
Okay.
now, as a CEO of a company or a region head of a country or Asia head, if I want to know or if I want to see the aggregated value of the all the order placed in last 1 month, last 1 year, last 10 year, I have to run some report, correct?
Yeah, yes,
Like
sir.
how you log into your bank account and see the mini statement. Mini statement
Yes,
is last 10 records or
yeah,
20 records. If you want to see from the day one what was the overall credit and debit happen in your account, in that case, what you have to do, you have to run the report on a real time to get the aggregated value, correct?
yes, sir.
So if they are running on the same system where the end user also placing that order and all, obviously every system has its own hardware and software, correct, in the back end.
Yeah.
So if the report running is only consuming too much of time, what will happen? It will impact the end user's experience. Not many people can place an order. The user experience, browsing experience will be very deteriorated. All those things will happen, right?
Okay, sir.
That's the only reason what SAP come up with. OLTP is the system which is mainly used for transactional data processing or committing the new records or creating a new entry. It can be master data or transaction data.
Okay, sir.
So to create a bigger reports for last 1 year, last 10 year, last 20 year, you can still do on OLTP, but it will impact the performance to the end user, correct?
Okay.
Or it will consume all the system resource. That's the reason SAP come up with a system called OLAP system. Whatever
Okay.
the transaction being committed after business hour, we used to bring that to BW system. In BW system, you can hold entire, you can replicate the entire table data or entire application component data. For example, purchase order, sales order, vendor master, material master, employee master, all
Okay.
those information, store it as a name indicator. Business information warehouse is nothing but what? Gordon. You can
Yeah.
store, stack things. In our case, we'll stack the data
Okay.
coming from source system.
Okay.
Got it? That is the
Yes,
use
sir.
of BW. BW is optimized or introduced only for the analytical processing purpose, mainly processing the
Okay.
data, which is historical data. It can be billions of trillions of record. You will do the
Okay.
model in such a way, you will bring the data from source system and model, store the data at a detail level and also store the data at aggregated level so that it is readily available for reporting purpose. Clear?
Okay. Clear, sir.
Any
Yes.
other doubts with respect to this?
Yes, sir. So, as you were mentioning, the source system will be getting the data from the source system you mentioned. So, we'll be getting the data from only from the MySQL or like, or even from Salesforce, like from
It supports
randomly we'll be
everything.
getting.
So BW,
Okay.
we'll see that. But
Okay,
it's
sir.
a good question. BW supports data from both SAP and non-SAP system. The SAP systems are
Okay.
ECC, SRM, CRM.
Okay.
Non-SAP system you can get in the format of CSV file or XLS file. Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Any
sir.
other SQL data or even Salesforce or any even the flat file prepared by somebody manually prepared file also you can load to BW system.
Okay.
That is one of the power of BW. So you can
Okay.
integrate or bring the data from SAP and non-SAP to the BW system, and
Okay.
then you can come once the data is loaded, data is there in BW. That's it. So you can
Okay.
combine data of SAP with non-SAP also. There could be a
Okay,
case
sir.
where the company is using some other system, for example, Salesforce to manage their customers' master data information and other engagement information. You are getting the order information here, customer master data information from Salesforce. You can combine and give a report, single report, which is having both the information. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
By default with SAP license, you will get even the loading data from flat file to BW also. Okay. That is
Okay, sir.
supported. Clear?
Okay.
So moving on, for the source system part, our BW support both SAP source systems such as SRM, CRM, ECC. ECC is the one which is mostly used as the
So,
transactional system.
so what is that SRM thing, sir?
Supplier relationship management. SAP
Supply.
introduced something called SRM, but nobody is using that nowadays.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
You mean
ECC
like
is the main thing.
operational domain data, like those kind of things,
Supplier
sir?
related information, yes. Ultimately, what happened, even that was also part of this ECC only. As
Okay,
a marketing strategy, initially from day one ECC was there, they introduced CRM system as a separate system so that they told like whatever the load which will be there on your ECC to manage the customer, we are moving to here, like few of the customer
okay,
who had money, they went ahead and purchased even SRM. Then there has to be a
okay,
project to integrate your the CRM data with the ECC data, correct? Whatever you create in
okay,
CRM, it will come to ECC. Even SRM, it will come to ECC. Okay. So now
okay,
they you have now the technology is so matured, people think like I don't want to have multiple system. So even
okay,
SAP, they themselves also in the higher version they introduce more and more functionality over here only so that they are not going to duplicate systems.
okay.
Got it? Main thing is
Yes,
SAP
sir.
ECC.
Okay,
And CSVs, it can be data coming from any source system. It can be uh, any database, MySQL, PHP, or even CSV file. It doesn't matter. Okay.
so whatever the source data or source system may be, we can pull that to OLAP BW, right?
Right. There are
Okay,
cases where you see in your landscape they might have some ECC system which are
okay,
providing the source. There are some loads which are getting data in a flat file format also. Okay.
okay, okay, sir.
So coming to back end of the BW, the BW HANA was the database which is which came recently. Okay.
Yeah.
Before HANA, the idea was something called SAP was supporting all the database. Any database,
Okay.
it's up to you as a company. If you are a company owner or a CEO, if you want your you wanted to run BW for sure, but your backend can be anything. It's up to you to take a call. SAP will tell you list of databases which it is going to support. Okay. Assume that you
Okay.
had another Salesforce or some other application already having a Oracle database. So even on BW also you can use the Oracle because you might be having good relationship with Oracle. They may give you get good pricing to use their database at a productive
Okay.
environment.
Okay.
So they had multiple database supported. Would have installed both BW on any database supported database or ECC on any supported database. Now what SAP has done from last 10 years back 2010 end they launched a product called SAP HANA, which is headed by Vishal Sikka, who is our Infosys CEO recently.
Okay. Okay.
Few years back, he was a CEO, right? He was the project manager for HANA. He was the
Okay.
one who launched, he was heading the project. So they come
Okay.
up with their own, the database called SAP HANA database. So later, what they told, whatever the existing customer, right? They were running on Oracle and other database, right? There is some advantages on HANA database.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it's like very fast, right, compared to
Yeah,
conventional
it is not
database.
that just because you introduced your own company's database, you cannot push their existing customer to move from existing database to their database. Correct? They come up with some their own innovation with the HANA database. So obviously that compelled people to move from existing database to HANA because existing database have their own limitation. Okay.
Yes.
So what are the advantages of HANA? We will see that. But SAP come up with that and they also gave a time. By another 15 years or 10 years, we will stop supporting old databases. If the BW is running on old database or ECC
Okay.
running on old database, we are not going to support that. They give
Okay.
ample amount of time based on whatever the agreement which they had earlier. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So now most of the BW project, if you see, BW is already migrated to HANA. Almost more than
Yeah.
70% people have already migrated from BW from non-HANA database to HANA database because just by switching from old database to new database, you will get lot of performance improvement without doing any customization. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So if at all your BW is running on HANA, they call it as BW on HANA. That's it.
BW on HANA. Yeah.
But if you are purchasing a new BW system, for example, in your company, you had ECC, you didn't had BW. Now, if you are going and approaching BW SAP to purchase BW system, they will give HANA's database by default that is called as BW for HANA. Okay, S
No, I
for
didn't get
HANA,
that, sir.
BW for HANA. See,
Suppose,
you had
suppose
old
I'm having that
database.
old ECC system with
You
me,
had
and
old BW system which was running on Oracle. You migrated from Oracle to HANA DB. In
HANA.
that case, you will call it as BW on HANA. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
BW on HANA is also called by one more name called BW for HANA. Okay. There is no
Okay.
difference.
Okay.
But if somebody was already using other database, they migrated, they called it as BW on HANA. But if you are
Okay.
purchasing the fresh system, SAP is going to
Okay.
give a system called BW for HANA. By default,
Okay.
that will be having HANA database, not any other database. Okay. That's the
Okay.
only
Okay, sir.
major difference.
Okay, so on BW HANA we can use like we are updating from Oracle or
You
non-conventional.
migrated.
Yeah, okay, migrated from old to
Even
new. So that's why.
someday later, you will be calling even BW on HANA also as BW for HANA because you will migrate everything to
Okay,
latest service pack.
okay,
Okay.
okay, okay, sir.
So for timing, you think like both BW on HANA, BW for HANA is same. The
Okay,
backend
sir.
database is HANA database. That's it.
Yeah, okay, sir.
So that's is let us see the BW guys roles and responsibility. Okay. What would
Okay,
be the roles and responsibility of a BW consultant? So let us see this. So as a BW consultant or the person who is working in BW technical area, you know by this time what is OLAP system and OLTP system, right? In our
yes, sir.
case, consider SAP ECC system as a source system. SAP ECC having multiple uh, source system, the modules, right?
Multiple
HR module,
multiple domain data. This is like
domain
HR
data,
data,
FICO,
financial data.
MMPP, SD, and others. So now the data is spread across multiple tables, correct? Because in HR
Yeah,
module only you will have timesheet data, you will have
yeah,
employee leave information, employee factory calendar, and
yeah,
its salary information, sales and distribution. It will have purchase order and purchase requisition, many other information, right? So
yeah.
now you know why we are not going to do direct reporting on SAP ECC, because it is not going to impact the end user performance or impact the
Okay,
OLTP system performance, right? That's the
okay,
reason what people has done. We come up with something called OLAP system, correct? So
okay.
our ECC will there will be a BW system. As a BW consultant, what we will do, we will work on bringing the data from source system and building a model. Okay,
Okay,
bring the
sir. One
data from
small.
all these source system, different types
Okay,
of data, and it is not
okay,
that blindly will bring everything based on the need. If
okay.
there is a guy
Yeah.
who need a HR related information of a particular transaction code of source system, yeah, in
Hmm.
the form of bex output, what you will do, you will build a model. Your job is to prepare some object in such a way to bring the required data from source system, model it, and store the data in a required fashion. If there is a need to
Sir.
join one data with other data set, you can join it. Then you can create a final BEX report that will be used by the person or a business user who has given a requirement to you. Go
So
ahead,
sorry
please.
to interrupt, sir.
Go ahead,
One
go ahead.
small doubt. Okay. So in SAP old ECC system, there'll be like different bunch of data. And I'm just rephrasing like what you are saying, like
Right, right.
HR, financial data, data. So bringing that in ECC system will the end result will be affected. You are saying. So that's why we are bringing that to OLAP BW thing.
Yes, the
So
BW
on.
system has been introduced for the reporting
Hmm,
purpose. It has its own advantages. It won't
yeah.
impact anything on your source system,
Yeah.
which is ECC system.
Suppose
So,
if the requirement for HR is means like we just want the employee ID and salary and his name means we'll be taking only those kind of columns and we'll be bringing that to OLAP BW.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yes.
That is one
And
scenario. Yeah.
one doubt is like you were telling like we'll be building a model. So what is the meaning of that, sir? Building a model
Model
means
means you have to store even data in BW, correct?
okay,
So we are just bringing, we cannot bring on the fly, correct? We have to create
okay,
some object in source system. We have to create some object in BW system. So as a
okay,
BW consultant, we will work on something called ETL, extraction, transformation, and loading. Okay.
loading,
So we will first create something called extractor. We will replicate that. We will bring a design model or nothing but different types of tables in a layman terms. You will
okay,
load
sir,
data which is
okay,
extracted from source system to the multiple tables which you have built in BW. In
yes,
BW
sir,
term, it is called as info provider, which you will see in a course of training, and then
okay, okay,
you will merge the data. For example, you are getting one data from one system, the Asia data. In from the
okay.
another system, you might be getting America data. You wanted to merge the data which is there in two separate table in BW. Okay,
So
you
sorry to interrupt, sir. So you are saying like we'll be bringing data from America data or like Europe data for same HR module itself. You
It
mean
can
like
be,
that?
the possibility can be anything, right? If your
Okay, okay, okay,
company
okay,
is
fine.
national
Okay.
company, it might be present at
Hmm.
multiple
Hmm.
countries. Maybe
Yeah.
they might be using, all the country might be using single SAP ECC system. There could be a possibility
Okay.
of more than one ECC system also. Each region might be using their own separate ECC system. Now you
Okay.
can connect multiple ECC to same BW system also.
Okay.
Or one region they might be using SAP ECC, another region they might have recently acquired one company to
Okay.
expand their business, they might be using Oracle. So you won't
Okay.
directly
Okay.
migrate Oracle to SAP ECC. It takes lot of money, effort, and time, correct? So for
Okay.
that, what you
Okay.
will do, you will tell to the other region people that I already have a business warehouse solution. Give me data in this format. You'll give the required
Okay. Okay.
format. They will
Okay.
generate an Excel file for you or CSV file for you. That
Okay.
data we will load here. Now you have two different
Okay.
data set. There might
Okay.
be a chance that you want region specific report also. In that case, you will create on top of a separate region table. But
Okay.
maybe the global head CEO or CTO wanted you to give a, or global HR team wanted you to give a single report which is giving information from each of the region. In that case, we have to do the union of one data set with other, right?
Okay. Fine, sir.
It's
Fine.
about bringing the data from multiple places based on the need. Even from single source
Okay.
system also, you may need to merge HR data with the finance data. Okay, in that case you
Okay.
will bring two different data set and then you will join or do the union.
Okay. So by any chance we'll be using any SQL and all here, or will be some SQL concepts
Here
here,
there
sir?
won't be any SQL. So if you are
Okay.
going with BW ABAP training, there is something called Open SQL. SQL
Okay.
specific to ABAP. You will be learning
Okay.
that.
Okay. Because I have like I have like experience in MySQL, sir. That's why.
That will be useful for sure when you start learning an
Okay.
ABAP. That
Super, sir.
experience will not go for
Okay.
toss. And
So
even when you
what
go
is
for
this?
native
Yes, sir.
HANA, that will also be helpful SQL part.
Yes, sir. So what is this BEX report, sir?
Bex report is a reporting solution given by BW.
Okay.
Uh, this is
So
the
like,
default reporting solution. So as a BW consultant, we will bring a data from multiple source system or multiple tables from
okay.
a single source or multiple source, right? After doing the
Okay.
modeling, ultimately
Okay.
what? We have to also do the reporting, correct? You have to create some
Yeah.
report so that the business user can come and execute it, right? That
Report in
report
the
is
sense
called a
you
Bex
mean
report.
like you mean some visualization like
Yes,
Power BI.
visualization, yes.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
So this
Fine.
has its own default reporting solution called Bex report. And
Okay, sir.
Bex report can also act like a source for your Power BI or Click or many other
Okay. Okay. I get it, sir.
reporting tool, Tableau.
Okay.
So default there is a Bex reporting. You can use that. It is a very powerful tool again. But
Yes, sir.
some people might be using Power BI nowadays and they wanted a single reporting solution, the third party.
Okay.
So
Okay.
can use now the Bex also as a source for your
Yeah.
Power BI dashboard.
Okay. Because for me and all, they told me be sure that BW queries. So this BW queries is only
BW
Bex
query is
queries,
nothing but
sir.
the Bex report, the Business
Okay.
Central
Okay.
report. Bex is
Okay.
the
Fine.
expansion is Business Explorer.
Explorer. Okay, sir.
Okay. So that is the roles and responsibility. Your job is to bring the data all the way from source system and move across multiple stages of table in BW. And
Okay,
finally,
sir.
you create a Bex report to visualize the
Okay.
data. Ultimately, what you see in Bex report should be exact replica of your source system, correct?
No, I didn't get that, sir. Can you come again?
Whatever the output you see in Bex report output, what you see in your bank account statement in your mobile application should be
Yeah.
exact replica of what is there in your account, correct?
Yeah,
It should not
exactly.
show some wrong value. If it
Yeah,
is
true.
showing some wrong value, then the business user will raise a question, or else you as a customer of that bank will raise a
Okay.
question like didn't do this transaction or I did this transaction but amount for 2000 rupees but it is showing 2500 rupees. You will raise a ticket. You will call to customer care. Like that, what
Okay.
business user will do, they will raise a ticket in the ticketing tool, and
Okay.
the you as a BW consultant should go and look for what is the source system. Source system for sure they are already giving you the information. You can still go and check whether what they are saying is correct in the source system. Okay, in source system you are able to see $2500, but whereas in the report it is showing 5000. Maybe it might be doubling.
Okay.
Some might, in the process of loading from all the way from source to target, somewhere you might have loaded twice on a particular day,
Okay.
so
Okay.
the data might have got doubled, correct?
So how do we debug that, sir?
That you
So
have to
so
go the flow. First you have to understand the flow. You
okay.
had yeah, there is still time for that. So it is just that
Okay.
you will declare multiple tables, right? The data will flow from
Yeah.
here to one table, from that table to next table. You might be, by loading data from here to here, you might join additional set of data. Now you are adding more and more field to the data. Okay, in that process maybe something might have happened, correct? That you have
Yeah.
to go and see the flow. If the Bex report is on top of a particular table, you have to go to that table. And if that table is getting data from another table, you have to look for what is the data here, what is the data here. When loading data from one table to other table, was there any two times whether I have run, or whether if there is any custom logic implemented, what was that
Okay.
custom logic, all those things you have to understand.
Okay, sir.
So that's how you will debug. Debugging is
So
not
but
always a code, it is all about
okay.
exploring. It is not
Okay.
from here to here a single program.
Okay.
Okay.
So but this exploring this tricks and all you will teach me now, sir, like
Yes,
this
once you understand
practically.
every entire
Yeah.
module, you will understand everything.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So that is
Fine, sir.
about your roles and responsibility as a BW consultant.
Yes, sir.
Coming to overall path of BW, same thing we will see with respect to objects. Okay. So this would
Okay,
be
sir.
the typical overall path if you take any BW Bex report. Okay. Ultimately, Bex report is what? Replica of your base table. either
Yes.
in a detailed form or aggregated form. Okay, you have purchase order report, you might have a detailed purchase order report even at the next level, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Or else you might have created a custom report which is giving aggregated value by region or country also, right?
Yeah.
So ultimately we have to bring data from source and make it to be available for reporting. Based on the
Oh,
requirement, either you will prepare a data in a detailed form or aggregated form, or
yeah.
you might be
Yeah.
joining one data set with the other data set, correct? So
Okay. Yeah.
in BWC, in ECC system or source system, we will have a tables, correct? The data will be spread across
Yeah. True.
different table, HR, MM, PP, sales and distribution,
Yeah.
material management. The data will be spread across multiple table. For example, as part of your current requirement, you are supposed to bring the data which is customer master data and customer company code data, or else purchase order and purchase order item. In ECC side, assume that purchase order header information is stored in one table, purchase order item is stored in another table. What we have to do, we have to merge the data and bring and made it available to BEX report, correct? In the
Oh, yeah.
ECC side, you will create something called extractor. This is actual BW terminology which I am telling you now, okay? So
Okay.
we will create an object called extractor. So for the extractor, you will
Okay.
use tables as a source. Okay, you will combine multiple tables at extractor level, or else you will create a separate extractor for each of the table. You have that option also.
Okay.
Okay, you will combine the data of multiple tables and put it into your extractor. Like you will design an
Okay.
extractor by to bring data from a single table or more than one table. Okay, it's up to
Okay. Okay.
you while designing the data based on the scenario. Once you bring data
Okay.
from here to here, what you will do, you will create an extractor, right? Then we have to replicate this data source from source system to BW system.
So can you once again say like what
You
is
create
like
the data source in
what
source system.
what does extractor do? Like
So it's an object which will let you to bring data from one system to another. That's it.
okay, one system
It's
to
an
another.
object.
Okay. Okay.
It's an object called as extractor which is going to help you to bring data from source system to BW. First you have to create an extractor first, okay? In case of ECC you have to create one data source or extractor, both are one and the same. You have to create that, then you have to replicate that to BW. There is a mechanism, there is a procedure you have to follow which we see in our actual session. Okay,
Okay.
you will replicate data from here to here. Once you replicate
Okay.
the data, you will have a data source or structure here. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
then we have some object called info package that we will see in detail in future. When
Okay.
you replicate, only the structure will replicate it, data won't come. Okay, then there is a
Yeah.
mechanism, you have to trigger that mechanism so that control will go from BW to ECC and bring the data and put it in your data source level in BW.
Okay.
So you triggered something called extraction, like you write in a select statement in a layman terms in from BW.
Okay.
You pull
Okay.
the data and stored it in one table at data source level. Now the data is
Okay.
there in BW. What is the next step?
Okay.
As a BW consultant, you have to create different tables. In BW terminology, we call it as info providers. Okay.
Okay.
Info providers are something which is going to store the data or
So why do we
some.
have to create like different tables, sir? Because because already we have taken the table from ECC to OLAP system we have taken, which is the
But
data
on
source
top of this,
extractor.
you cannot do any reporting. It is just the entry
Okay.
point. That's it.
Okay.
So it is not that in a single table you will get every data. Okay,
Okay.
you
Okay.
have to merge the data, you have to aggregate the data, many things you have to do. It is not that if you
Okay.
see your bank account and see the information what you see on the screen, it won't be there in a single table in the back end. It might be coming
Okay.
from multiple different table. For example, your customer master data like account number, when you have opened the account, what is your first name, middle name, last name, what is your communication, everything will be stored in separate table. And for every customer you will have is transaction, right? Multiple transactions.
Sir, your
That
voice is breaking. So can you come again 1 second? Your voice was breaking
is
actually.
it fine now?
Yeah. 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 Sir, fine. Fine.
See, in your account, your master data will be stored in separate table, first name, middle
Okay.
name, last name, phone number.
Yeah.
Whereas the individual transaction which you doing by swiping or by doing online banking, that will be
Okay.
stored in separate table. Now, when you see
Okay.
in your application, you are merging both the data. Like
Yeah.
that, even in SAP, not a single table will hold all the data, right?
Okay.
You have to
Okay.
bring multiple data set and store it physically first. Okay, You can do
Okay.
reporting on top of info provider only. You cannot create a best report on top of data
Okay.
source.
Okay.
So under info provider also you have multiple types of info provider. We'll see that in
Okay.
next sessions.
Okay.
Okay. So you will have something called info provider. On top of info provider, there are two types of info provider. Some info provider is going to store data physically. It will literally act like a table. Okay. You can load the data and physically it will hold the data. Okay. It is like a table. And there are some info provider in BW which will like a virtual providers like your view, SQL views. So you can create a view on top of two tables which is holding the data physically. Got it? Are you there? Yeah, that's what. This would be the actual activity which you will be doing as a BW consultant. And yeah,
Okay.
post that. See, there are two types of work. There will be a development and enhancement work. As a developer, what you will be doing, you will work on creating an object. If you are a part of development project, in development you can do fresh object development, or you can also do some changes to the existing object also. Okay, but if you are working on a support
Yes, sir.
project, what you will have to do, bix report, it is not that one time activity, correct? You replicate the table, you load the data and leave it. No, every single day you will have new record got created, right? Purchase order will be created on a daily basis, correct? That data has to be
Yeah.
flowed from your source system to all the way to BW system, right?
So that kind of data is only like OLTP data, sir.
Everything, anything, any data can be OLTP data. Whatever the data is
Okay.
present in ECC, it can be employee master, material master, purchase order, employee information, vendor information, purchase order, sales order, your projection,
Okay.
anything is a data.
One thing small. Yes, sir. Sorry to interrupt, sir. So, like, just correct me if I'm wrong. So, the columns which cannot be changed, as say for an example, like the email column,
Okay.
ID column, name column, those kind of column, they come under OLAP or OLTP, sir.
See, everything is OLTP.
OLTP
See, there
only.
are two
Okay.
types of data. Don't get confused with OLTP or OLAP.
Okay, sir.
There are two types of data. What are those? Master data and transactional data. What
Okay.
is
Okay,
master
sir.
data? Master data is something which is not going to store or change frequently, such as your
Name,
customer master data with respect to the
customer name.
bank. Your account
Yeah.
number will never change, correct?
Yeah.
Along
True.
with your account number, you will have something called your master data, customer master data. We need some mandatory information related to customer. What are those?
Yeah.
Customer first name, middle name, last name, customer phone
Yeah.
number, customer address,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes,
this
sir.
information will not change so often, correct?
Okay.
Account number for sure, it is a unique identifier. With the
Okay.
account number, you will have a, that is a unique identifier for the customer master data. That
Okay.
account number will be associated with a particular person, correct? And
Okay.
that person is having first name, middle name, last name. Master data is something which is not going to change so
Change.
often. So
Okay.
for example, you can expand your initials or you can compress your initials, correct? That is the maximum changes you can do at your name level, correct?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
address
sir.
also, not every single day you will be changing the home. So
Okay.
even the address also comes under master data only.
Okay.
Whereas
Transactional
transactional
data.
data cannot exist without master data. For example, you cannot go to Amazon website and simply place an order without giving any information, correct? Your
Yeah.
shipping address and all. There has to be somebody, some customer has to be created first. Then only you can place an order or you can add and create a purchase order, correct? So in order
Yeah.
to have a transactional data will always associated with what? Master
Master data.
data. It
Yeah.
can be customer master in case of purchase order. If it is an employee, you cannot simply go and submit a timesheet, correct?
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
have to submit timesheet with respect to some employee ID. So
Yeah.
employee is the master data there. Again, employee might have his first name, middle name, last name, or its a department which he is working in and all. Again, every single day he is not going to get a promotion or progression, correct? So
Yeah.
all those rules and things will comes under master data. But transaction are what? Every single day you are submitting a timesheet. With
Yeah.
respect to that employee ID, you are submitting a timesheet, that is the transaction under that master data. Okay, the data can be
Yes.
classified into two types. One is transactional data and another one is master data.
Master
Okay,
data.
so
Yes,
yes.
sir.
So those are the two types of data. Any type of data can be present in ECC. It can be transactional data or it can be master data. Data can be mainly categorized in those two types. Based on the need, you will be extracting master data also, you will be extracting transactional data also, and doing the further reporting. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, that's all for today. In the next session, we
Okay,
will
sir.
see what exactly is the landscape, how we will move from one system to another system
Okay.
once you do the
Okay,
changes,
sir.
right? There is something called
Yeah.
landscape. You have to understand that many other things. Okay.
Okay.
Once you're done
Okay.
with that, we'll see a couple of more examples. We'll see what are different
Yes, sir.
types of provider and all. With that, you will be able to.
Yes, sir.
Now you have a at least fair idea what is a BW,
Yeah. Now,
what
yes,
is the
sir.
how the data flow from source system to BW system and all. In the next session,
Okay.
you will see what is landscape, what is different info provider, what is master data,
Okay.
what is transactional data. Everything was supposed to be in the next session, but since
Okay.
you at least you asked, it is good that you understood.
Yes,
So
sir.
we'll see
At
more
least
in
some
detail. There is
basic
something
information.
called
Yeah,
delta
yeah.
load, full load, many things to
Okay.
learn. You will
Okay.
understand that in upcoming sessions. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, that's what we are doing the modeling part. The
Yes.
previously you were telling, no? Okay.
Because you
So
are a
this is the
technical user,
process.
not the business user. The business user is the
Okay.
customers or the people
Okay,
who are
sir.
sitting on site or who are using that system in the production, correct? They will
Yes.
create
Yeah.
a data. As a BW consultant, we have to take a requirement from them and what data they wanted to see, and we have to bring that data to BW and mix and match or merge the data, prepare a better model for a scaling purpose, and then create a BX report. That's what you do as a BW consultant.
Okay.
So our job is
Okay.
to create a technical object and model, and also we have to create some automation also, correct? See, you create a
Okay.
flow. Every day you
Okay.
cannot come and trigger the load from here to here, from here to here, here to here, right? Every single day there will be hundreds of thousands of records will be created in source system. For that
Yeah.
data has to be replicated to BW. You will create some jobs. You will have to understand that. If you have that fair understanding, that's it. Okay.
Sir, you teach the automation also, no, sir?
Everything, whatever. Otherwise, why I will tell there is something called
Okay.
automation of this, right? So
Okay.
everything
Yeah.
which is
So,
needed for a BW consultant will be taught in a training. Okay,
okay. So, one small doubt, sir, before ending the class. You were telling daily 1,000 entries or 10,000 entries will be added in the source system.
right.
Meaning, suppose my client is Coca-Cola, means they'll be adding from their
I guess there is some issue with your network.
to us, and we should be the report should be updated based on that. So that is what you meant the automation, right, sir?
Yes, see, every single day there. See, you created a report to show something purchase order, correct,
Oh,
to your
okay,
CEO or
okay,
CTO, but
okay.
you are not updating the data means there is nothing. There is no value addition, correct? It is showing the older
Yeah,
data, 1 year old data.
yeah,
It does not make any sense, correct?
yeah. It does not make any
Every
sense.
single day your report has to be get updated with the latest data. That's what you are going to do. In order to show BEX report to show the updated data, what you have to do, you have to bring the additional changes which has been created after previous extraction all the way from source system to your final info provider.
Okay,
Whatever is updated, if the table is up to date, whatever is there in the table, the BEX report will show. So now your job is also to design. After that, you also need to schedule some job, or first create a job and then schedule it, so that every single day at specific point or specific time, it will go to source system, it will extract the data, it will load from multiple path, and the data will be finally available in your or updated in your info provider, that will be further available for your reporting. Okay.
okay, sir. Okay,
That's all with respect to overview of BW. If you are looking for online training on SAP ABAP, BW, BW ABAP, BW on HANA, native HANA and HANA related SQL, feel free to reach out to me on my mail ID, that is venugopalmn1988 at the rate gmail.com. You can also call me on my mobile number, that is +91 followed by 97399839992. Thank you so much and have a good one.